Hi everyone, welcome to the Richards F1 post-Australian Grand Prix wrap-up, where we've had a crowd of 296,000 spectators hit the circuit over the last 4 days, which is great. No doubt the event will probably still run at a loss, so we'll wait and see how this one goes. Joseph and I are just going to talk very quickly about our what we saw and what we thought of the Australian Grand Prix. Many of you will know Joseph, hopefully, as our new technical correspondent. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Joseph wrote our Android and iPhone article that hit the website the last couple of days, and we'll be providing hopefully a few more articles over the course of time.
Hopefully.
Yeah, which should be great. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat about the Australian Grand Prix, which was won in very commanding fashion by
Sebastian.
Yes, drove very well, with Lewis second and Vitaly Petrov taking his first podium, and the first for a Russian, and the first for Lotus in a little while, or Lotus Renault rather, in a little while. Which was very good to see. I thought it was an interesting race. There were a few talking points coming out of it.
Definitely.
There was a bit to be made about this whole start line KERS thing for Red Bull, but they didn't seem to use the KERS at all, so maybe that was more of a reliability issue than any kind of secret whiz-bang feature.
Perhaps, and both got off the line very, very well in comparison to the McLarens as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was an interesting race there. Bit of a sad result there for Merck. Neither of them finished.
Yeah, obviously, as many of our viewers would have seen, Michael had a bit of a shunt in the back and lost a tyre and suspects some suspension damage afterwards. And Rosberg, victim to Rubens today.
Yes. Bit of a pincer move there by Rubens. Came from absolutely miles behind and stuffed him up there. So, yeah. But the Williams car had good pace. Just Rubens needs to judge his braking distances and not use the car in front as a brake in order to get round the corner, I think would probably be the way of doing it. A couple of positives for me. I thought that the three podium getters were very solid.
Yes, indeed.
Vettel was imperious. Hamilton drove very well with a broken floor.
Yes, towards the end there, he lost a bit of the floor there. But I thought Sebastian's lead in the first couple of laps just really cemented their dominance. Yeah. 2.4 seconds, I think, within the first lap. That was just immense. And as we said before, Vitaly Petrov, very, very solid race from him.
I thought he did really well there. The car, I don't think, had the outright pace to be able to challenge the front runners, but they used the strategy cleverly and drove a very good race. So hats off to him. I think he really, really deserved that result. It was very good.
Absolutely.
And I thought, for me, the other positive was Sergio Perez. In the points, first race, first Mexican driver in 30 years. He did a good job.
Yeah, outperformed his teammate, Kamui Kobayashi today, who, unfortunately for me, didn't drive a very good race. Yeah,
he seemed to be a bit asleep there. He was sort of letting everyone past him who wanted to have a little bit of a go. So, yeah, for me, it was a bit of a disappointment in the race.
Definitely. We usually see Kamui come up with a few sparks, a few overtake attempts at least, but he seemed like maybe he didn't have the confidence in the braking zone or something like that, but he just didn't seem up to his normal self today.
Absolutely. Nick Heidfeld, I thought, also was a bit disappointing, had a bit of a rough time in qualifying, and I was hoping for a bit of a charge through the field from him and didn't really see it at all.
No, especially when you contrast the performance against Vitaly, who obviously everybody rates Quick Nick as a very, very competitive driver, and it's very disappointing to see him so low down in the field.
Well, Malaysia's generally a better circuit for him, so hopefully we might see some better results coming out of the box for him.
Sure.
I think for me, the other piece was Button had a little bit of a rough time as well too, with his pass on Massa, and then Ferrari doing a little bit of a switch over at that time, which meant that the penalty was coming through because they pitted almost immediately, so they stuffed McLaren there well and truly. Good on them for thinking outside the box. I think if I was on the Ferrari pit wall, I would have done exactly the same thing.
It would be very interesting if we can get the audio of that conversation.
Absolutely. I thought the first race with the DRS I was expecting more passing. And to be perfectly fair, I think I saw 2 DRS passes the entire race, which would be Button on Kobayashi, who was evidently asleep, I think. So I think that was more a Kobayashi just being a bit soft rather than the DRS really contributing to it. And Massa passed Buemi late in the race, but I think the tyres probably had more to do with it than the DRS. What were your thoughts?
I mean, look, I still think the concept needs to be proven. It's only race 1. As you said, I'm with the same feeling that I expected more from the system. It would be interesting to see if they would reposition some of these zones for the DRS to be enabled, and I think we'll see more in the next few races, hopefully.
I think part of the reason we saw more passing going into turn 3, which was not a DRS zone, that we actually did going into turn 1. So I think that they really need to look at where they are positioning these zones on the circuit. Granted, there are more crowds on the front straight, but really there's not really a huge degree of passing ever into turn 1 at Albert Park.
Exactly, because you've got a very, very narrow section, and if you do manage to pass at turn 1, you're in a bit of a disadvantage going into 2 and 3. So I agree with you. Perhaps the rezoning it to turn 3 would have been a better choice for our Grand Prix.
Anyway, that sort of wraps up our little bit of it. I guess sort of driver of the day for you?
Driver of the day, I mean, it's hard to take anything away from Red Bull and Sebastian's emphatic win, but it has to be Vitaly Petrov for my vote today.
Yeah, I think Petrov was really, really strong there. Good tactical drive by the Renault team, and he kept it out of the wall as well too, which is not something I was, to be honest, expecting. He did have a little moment in one of the practice sessions at some point, but he kept a clean race and he drove very, very well. So big congrats to him there. We move on to Malaysia next. So that'll be exciting and interesting. And
hopefully wet.
Yes. It'd be nice if we can have a little bit of wet weather there just to spice things up and keep it all involved and interesting for us. So anyway, make sure you keep up to date with the Richards F1 website. We'll be providing all of the latest news and the analysis post-Australia and heading into Sepang. We've had some really, really good traffic to the site over the Australian Grand Prix weekend, some of our best ever. So thank you for our new visitors who've joined, and thank you for our existing visitors who've helped spread the word and keep the site active and promoted among our new readership base. And we will see you around the corner soon. Take care.
Thank you.